There are a lot of challenges, both to journalism and to democracy, both in Poland, in the European Union, and in the world in general. The pessimistic data that you showed about the deterioration of democracy are absolutely right. You look at Poland, what happened in the last 8 years was basically Poland coming to the brink of democracy and to the brink of the end of democracy. I became an editor-in-chief of Onet. I have been journalist for over 30 years now. And I became an editor-in-chief the same week that the new government came to power in Poland in 2016. I never expect anything that happened to us after 2016. Answering one of the points that you made, editor-in-chief, at least in Poland, needs to make a decision every time anything is published, because every time anyone goes to court against us, I am called personally to the court. And I answer personally in court. I was called to court 350 times in last 8 years. One of my favorite cases was when I had to go to the military court. We had a very huge fight against the military police. We actually made a series of reports about sexual harassment against women working in military police. And we're called in court. I was told to be in the military court at 7:15. The mobile phone was taken away from me. I was sitting in a corridor outside the courtroom, and I was called in the courtroom at 4 p.m., sitting there since 7 a.m. So this is the example of why editor-in-chief is still important and needs to make decisions. At the same time, obviously, I'm not making decisions about everything that's being published. We publish 2,000 stories every day. So it's impossible. There has to be democracy in the newsroom. Someone else needs to make a decision, and it's usually a group of editors who are making decisions. I'm not working today. Anything that's being published today on it, I have no idea what they're going to publish. The number of pressure points that the media are under is tremendous. And let me just point to them in very short and brief way. The first one is the political pressure, and it's happening everywhere. It's not only a Polish problem. We just discussed Hungary. Hungary is not a democracy anymore. There are no free media in Hungary. Of course there are, but the reaches are very small. They don't count for anything. Hungarian voters do not have access to free information. So the elections in Hungary are not free anymore. This is the point that a lot of politicians seem to forget every time they talk about democracy. The free elections do not start at the moment when people count votes. The free elections start at the moment when any voter has an access to free information. And this is gone in Hungary. So the political pressure is one. Let me give you an example. In the last 8 years, every single day we ask a number of government institutions for access to public information. According to the law, we should be granted access. We were never, ever, even in one case, granted the access. The usual way it happened was they never answered to us. Basically, no answer at all, and it lasted for 8 years. Any kind of information we got from the government, if it's about official data or unofficial data, we got from sources. We never got anything from official, from access to public information. The other kind of pressure is obviously a pressure of social media, and you, sir, mentioned social media. And for me, it's the truth is we call them social media, but they're not media. And we should never combine, when we talk about media, we should never include social media into this. Social media are not about journalistic mission. No owner of social media cares about journalistic mission. Elon Musk is got nothing to do with journalism. Mark Zuckerberg, whom I know because the CEO of Axel Springer is a close friend to Mark Zuckerberg, and I had the privilege of taking part in several meetings with Zuckerberg and talking to him about media. Zuckerberg, if he thought that it's better to build cars he would switch Facebook to building cars tomorrow. They are not journalists. No journalists work for them. There are no journalists. There is no Twitter newsroom. There is no Facebook newsroom. So the social media, I strongly believe, are killing real media because people tend to forget that there's a big difference. They see something on Twitter, and it turns out not to be true, and then they blame media. And I keep repeating, it's not media, it's Twitter. It's different, it's different animal. But there is a strong pressure from social media. You look at the reporting on flood in Poland this last week. Every medium that wants to publish any video or any information about the flood, we have to check it out. We have to call people. We have to confirm it. On Twitter, it's everything, like any second. And people keep criticizing us. Oh, you're too slow. There are flood movies immediately on Twitter. I don't care about Onet anymore. I'm going to Twitter, and I'm keep telling people, well, but the flood video that you're showing me, it's from China from 5 years ago. It's not from Poland this week. The third kind of pressure is obviously the economic pressure. And you also mentioned the classified and how Axel Springer went into classifieds, believing that the classifieds would be subsidizing journalism. It's absolutely true. That was the idea. It didn't happen. Why? Because GAFA took over classifieds. GAFA being obviously Google, Facebook, Apple. They took over classifieds. They're using our classifieds databases to build their own services. You don't know about this, but I've seen the future. And I've seen a new kind of Google search that is coming. Now they call it overviews, Google overviews. They used to call it SCE, now they call it overviews. What will happen is they're obviously using AI. So instead of going into classifieds looking for a new car, you will ask Google, I have $5,000. I want to buy a new car. It needs to be yellow and it needs to be German. And they will go through the classifieds, and then they'll bring the classifieds to you, and they'll tell you, these are the best shots. You will never have to go to classifieds again. It's the same about information. There will be links on the Google page, but I don't know if you know that the number of people that go below 3 first links on the Google search website, when you see the page with the links, below the third link, 0.001% of people click on it. And once the links go even lower, because there will be a mountain of information above the links, telling you everything you want to know about everything, people will stop on clicking the stuff at all. The SEO searches will go down by 95% for all the media. The income from the search will be gone. And that's why the SEO of Axel Springer made a decision to move classifieds away from media, because it doesn't make any sense to sponsor GAFA instead of our own media. So GAFA is using our stuff, is using our journalists. Every time you go to ChatGPT, you have to understand these are not journalists behind it. Well, actually they are. ChatGPT is not paying them for this. They're using our stuff to build their own models, and they're not paying us for this. And then we are all surprised why publishers have to fire journalists. Well, they have to fire journalists because ChatGPT is stealing stuff from us, and nobody cares about this. They're killing classifieds. What they do with the classifieds, it's very, very simple. They allow classifieds website just to be a little bit above the red line. So the owners of the classifieds can say, well, we're making money. Well, it's just $1,000 a month instead of $100,000 that we used to make a year ago, but it's still above the line. So let's keep the business. And they do it because they need the classifieds from the classifieds websites to build their own models. So this is the kind of pressure, the display ads that we all hate, but the display ads are helping journalists to build newsrooms. 60% of all the income from the display ads in Europe now goes to GAFA. 60%, majority of the money. You watch ads on Onet or any other website, majority of the money, we don't get it. And then we are all shocked as customers why there are more display ads on the websites. Well, because we lose 60% of the money because it doesn't go to us. So the idea is to build a new business model, and we are very hard working on this. I actually believe I'm in the discussions with the publishers all over Europe, and I actually believe that we do have a model, and it will be a combination of paying customers, of readers who pay. We have to go back to times when we went to a store and bought newspaper, thus paying for the information. And we need to explain to people why they have to pay for information again. And I believe that we'll get there, but on the way we will lose a lot of media. A lot of smaller media will die because they will not make it into the point when the new business model shows up. The pressure of credibility, the loss of trust that you mentioned, of course. I blame bad journalists. Shocking, but there are bad journalists among us. I blame social media. I blame politicians who attack media all the time. Anytime you watch Donald Trump meeting his voters, they will be calling of traitors to the media. They will be calling the Russian agents to the media. I was called a Volksdeutsch. Those of you who know the history of the World War II know what it means to call a Pole Volksdeutsch. Basically means traitor. I was called a traitor at least 60 times by the public television in 8 years. Last 8 years. So it all comes down to the loss of trust by people. They don't know who to trust. They watch, one media calling other media traitors and Russian agents. There we are. The internet did not prove to be the ultimate weapon against censorship. The censorship is here. We know China managed to build a perfect machine to censor internet. We know that there are European governments, among them Hungarian government, who are buying the tools from China to control the internet. Russians already did it, and they are not the only ones. There will be other countries also inside the European Union who will use the tools to censorship the internet. These days, it's not about killing the media. These days, it's about taking ranges and a number of readers from media. In Russia, I was a foreign correspondent to Russia for 5 years. Half of my friends have left Russia since 2022. Some of them got killed. But there are still independent journalists in Russia. The problem is nobody reads them because nobody sees them on the internet. And this is what happens in other countries as well. It happens in Brazil, for example, but also in other countries. You take away readership from the media and they can stay on. That basically doesn't matter anymore. And if any story that is being published, independent story that is being published in Russia, Russians don't see it. So this is another pressure point. I will conclude. I'm very open to discussion. I always prefer answering the questions instead of talking myself. Let me just say this. You mentioned the Council of Polish Media. Yes, this is the first organization that is it was established in Poland a year ago. And the members of the council are editors-in-chief and deputy editors-in-chief. And this is why we took this decision, because we want people who are in charge of the newsrooms to build common standards for journalistic, for journalists in Poland. We had the first victory because I can say that we managed to pressure the prime minister, to pressure the government to change the law on rights, on publishing rights against GAFA. And we managed to change the law the way that the government will be included into the negotiations between publishers and GAFA. Otherwise, if not for the government, the only institution that GAFA is listening to are the governments. If governments are not included, GAFA doesn't care. And therefore, we managed to pressure the government to be included into the law, and they will be part of the negotiations between publishers and GAFA. We'll see what happens. We are far away from the solution, and when the solution comes, a lot of media will be gone by then, unfortunately. That's it from me. Thank you so much. I'm really open to answer any questions. Thank you.